no region in Italy has had the same history as any other. And no region in Italy has had the variety or the depth of history that Sicily has had. I'm Michael. I've been living in Sicily for about 20 years. The reason I'm here is because my wife is from Palermo, so she brought me here. Soon after I arrived in Palermo, I went to culinary school in the north of Italy, and I studied there at a school called Alma, and that was a very technical kind of school, and that basically set me up well for working in restaurants. So I worked in restaurants for several years in Palermo. Then I worked as a private chef. That took me around different parts of Europe, and then I ended up in a cookery school in the middle of Sicily. So that was on a farm, on a winery, and that was a very good experience. That's where I really got to learn a lot about the traditional Sicilian cooking and recipes. I was working alongside a lot of women from the local village, none of whom were like professionally trained, but they were all excellent cooks. They had just learned from home. So that's really got me into like the traditions. Also, I got to meet lots of producers, and I got to make cheese, and I got to produce olive oil, and of course, winemaking. So it got me into the kind of the vein, if you like, of real Sicilian traditions. And then eventually I decided to move back to Palermo full time, and we started our cookery school at that point. And then we started doing the cooking classes, which we're still doing today.
And for people who don't know Sicilian food, how would you describe it for them?
I think
and
really,
what makes it special for you also personally?
Sicilian food is, I think like most, historic kind of cuisines, it's connected to the history. And Sicily has such a wide influence on the cuisine that's sort of what makes it what it is today. Let me give you an example. So Sicily was ruled by the Greeks, and then the Romans, the Byzantines, the Arabs, for the Moors from North Africa, the Normans, the Spanish, various different types of Spanish. Then there was even a French influence on the cuisine in like the 1800s. So it's all these different influences. You've got many different cultures. That's what basically has boiled down into what Sicilian cuisine is today. What makes it special to me, I don't know. This was where I kind of had my culinary awakening. So I got to appreciate food so much from the point of view of people I met and people I connected with in Sicily. And then, of course, this is where I learned how to cook professionally. But more than that, I got to really get into the heart of Sicilian cooking. And that's what connected me to it.
So, this is our cooking vacation where we come in and we spend 4 intense, not intense, fun hands-on classes with over 8 days and 7 nights. That's the duration of the cooking vacation. How is it different for you, especially as a chef, compared to your traditional cooking classes?
There's so many recipes here that you can't just cover in a day. And of course, my normal cooking classes, I normally meet people in the morning, we do shopping, and then we cook, and then we eat, and then I don't see them again. So it's like I have to try and put as much as possible in those like few hours that we're together. We achieve a lot, but it's still quite limited. And so there's a lot of recipes that I'm really interested in that take a number of days to prepare. For example, any bread or pizza making, and I do get a lot of requests for making pizza, traditional Sicilian pizza, which is called sfincione. If I did it in a day with you, I would be cheating you, because you can't do it in a day. It has to be a 2, maybe 3-day preparation where you prepare the dough, you let it rest, you give it time. That's the way to do it. And so having this time over several days allows me to explore those recipes, which for me are really interesting. Then even things like arancina as well. That's a traditional like stuffed rice ball recipe. And I'll do it sometimes in the cooking class, but I have to prepare everything the day before, because you can't do it in one sitting because it won't work. So this is a way that we actually get to do all the steps from ABC, doing it over several days. So that's, for me, very exciting. And also we get to go more in depth of like the seasons and a little bit more into the traditions, because again, one day doing 4 courses, there's so much in Sicilian food that you have got just the tip of the iceberg. So having a few extra days allows you to go that little step further.
Yeah, I definitely do remember making the arancini and then making the rice first over a couple of days, and then stuffing it and seeing the surprise and the discussions that we had there. And then the taste at the end, it was also amazing. But just that process, when you break it down, it's the realization of something that you see as a street food. It looks easy to make, but when you get behind the scenes and you realize the steps that are involved, it's something else altogether, and there's a deeper appreciation. If someone has never cooked before, they would consider themselves a novice in the kitchen. What would you tell them? What would you say to them about joining us in Sicilian Cooking with You?
I love working with people who have lots of experience and also very little experience. The point is that cooking, it might seem complicated, and yes, there's lots of information, but each individual recipe or technique is actually quite basic. And I think it's just having that little bit of, I was going to say courage. It's not being scared of making mistakes. I think a lot of people get worried when they approach something that is going to go wrong. And that's the wrong approach. The approach is, I hope this goes wrong, because as soon as it goes wrong, you'll realize very quickly how to make it right. And so it's like just getting over that fear of making mistakes, because I love it when I make mistakes. When I make mistakes, I think, now I understand how the recipe works. What I actually don't like when I try a recipe for the first time is when it goes very well, because then I think I haven't learned anything. The worst thing is now I think I know how to make it, and I probably don't. I just got lucky. So I think the first thing is to just take each little bit of information one bit at a time and not be worried about mistakes, because that's really how you learn. And the more you practice, the better you get.
What do you hope people take home with them after an experience with you?
I hope that they still want to cook, but I think what I really hope is that people get that sort of overall view of everything I've been talking about. Appreciation of the history, also of that simplicity of the recipes themselves, and then hopefully some little technical techniques about cooking that then they can use for the rest of their life. That would be my real hope, let's say. Yeah.